Good morning, Jacksonville. Patrick Thomas, and welcome to Ladder Talks. Today is Tuesday, September 24th, and I'm here today to discuss with you the day after the A&P Commission meeting last night. I put out a small promotional video this morning, and I told you I was going to tell you how to be successful at getting your request for advertising and promotional money passed and approved by the A&P Commission. Now, I don't speak for those folks. Let's just make this clear right now. But folks, I've witnessed enough requests, and I've seen the reasons why they have either put them off or just flat out rejected their request. Preparation. You got to have a plan. A detailed plan. It don't have to be extremely detailed, but if you go in there with what I'm going to call gross numbers and there's no real clear-cut return on an investment for Jacksonville, you're probably not going to make it. You don't just walk in there and say, "Hey, I want to play volleyball Saturday night. I need $10,000 to advertise it." It's just going to be a few people, and it just don't work that way, folks. This is a lot of money, and this is money that these folks are held accountable for. At least I'm going to try to hold them accountable for how they spend that money. Well, I know none of you asked me to represent you. There's a lot of people out there who are not liking these messages that I'm bringing to you. For those who don't like what I have to say, just keep scrolling. You don't have to waste your time telling me how you don't like what I'm doing. Don't waste your time, people. Move along. I think there's some people out there who just don't like me and they want to try to discredit me, and they got nothing better to do than to try to tear me down. So I call those anything from circus clowns to fleas. You know, you kind of flick them out of your life, or in some cases a fly. You smack them. Y'all go away. So, enough on the haters. I don't want to give them too much attention, but they're out there. I don't know how many of you have gotten your Studio 25 coffee cup yet, but do go to D2 Comics. Well, that was the Rutro cup. Yeah, go to D2 Comics and go get you a coffee cup. Right to the A&P Commission statutes. I have printed out every statute that there is that talks about A&P Commission money. For those of you who want to go look it up, it's 26-75-601 through 619. Okay? This is a lot of statutes here, folks. Now, in some of these pages are history notes as to any amendments that took place or changes to the statutes. In a nutshell, folks, this money is used. It is the 2% hamburger tax and hotel tax that we collect here in Jacksonville. One of the 2 pennies goes to Parks and Recs, pretty much automatically, and it's just there for them to use. Parks and Recs is a draw. People come into our community and they use our Parks and Recreation facility. They use our community center. They use our swimming pool. They come here, and while they're here, they go over to Main Street and they buy some food. They have meetings there. They go to the meetings and they come here and they buy some food. Ideally, we want them to come into Jacksonville and stay a night in one of our hotels. That is the ideal situation. And if it's a real big event, they might stay 2 nights. Unfortunately, a lot of times it doesn't happen that way, where people stay overnight in one of our hotels. The 2 places that brings in this 2% money, again, is hotels and prepared food establishments. On the commission are 2 hotel people, representatives, and 2 restaurant people, representatives, 1 citizen at large, and 2 city council members. Your 2 city council members are the only 2 elected people on that commission. The A&P Commission does operate autonomously, totally separate, without any other oversight or approval. They do use the city attorney to try to help keep them out of trouble. Whatever that's worth. I think everybody needs an attorney in their hip pocket these days. For those of you who don't know about this A&P money, you really need to learn about it. There's an application process. Go up to City Hall and go over to Finance. See Nikki Wilmoth. I think she has a form that you can use. That form, whether you fill it out or use it as a guideline, what's important is that you have a presentation put together that is a good sales pitch. If you go up there and if you go up to the A&P Commission and you spend, let's just say, 20 minutes talking about you and your organization, and then you turn around and you say, oh, by the way, I'd like to have $10,000 to promote our upcoming event, and that's it. You just a little bitty blurb about, I need $10,000 to promote our event. And the only thing you talked about was you and your organization. You're probably not gonna be looked upon with much enthusiasm from the commissioners. They didn't really hear much about your event. But let's say you want to put on an event. Under the ideal situation, it should be at least an event. Under ideal situations, an event where you satisfy both the hotel folks and the food people. And the majority of the people that you're going to pull into town for hopefully a one-night stay in the hotels, hopefully the majority of that crowd is coming from outside of Jacksonville. And they're coming from far enough away that this is a destination, and they're coming here to spend money on your event, hotels, and food, and they might even go somewhere to buy, let's just say, something that they forgot at home, something from one of the local stores. The more likely that your event, the longer your event keeps people in town, the more likely your request for money is going to be approved. The money that you're asking for should be, ideally, money used to advertise your event. Now, if you go in there and you say, I need, let's just use the number $10,000. If you go in there and you just say, I need $10,000 to market and promote and to put on my event, the first question that's going to come to the commissioner's mind is, what are you going to do with this $10,000? Are you going to buy giveaways? Are you going to buy prizes? Or are you going to use the money on advertising and radio spots and TV spots, advertisement space in the local Arkansas Democrat Gazette, or maybe a trade magazine of sorts? If you just go in there and say, I need $10,000 to market my event, that's not going to be good enough, folks. If you're going to advertise on radio, and let's say out of that $10,000, $2,000 of it is radio, you need to say, a spot is going to cost me a certain amount of money, and I'm going to run 50 spots over a week on a certain radio station that appeals to our visitors, whatever radio station that may be. If you're doing I really don't even want to get into specific events, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Whatever the people who are going to come here, whatever radio stations they might listen to. If you're going to advertise in a trade publication, maybe you're bringing people here for a hobby event or some sort of interest event, and that group of people has a trade publication. Okay, well, if you're going to run your ad in 2 monthly publications, then you probably should list publication XYZ the month of July, the month of August, and it's going to cost me $500 each publication over 2 months. And if you're going to do a advertisement in some other magazine, okay, list that magazine. It's going to cost me $50 for a 2x2 ad, and list it. And if you have, after you're over with in this $10,000, if you have, let's just say, $1,000 left over for miscellaneous needs, then you might want to list those miscellaneous needs. Because if there's any fuzzy, excuse me, if there's any gray areas that leaves any doubt as to how you're going to spend that money, they might say, well, you asked for $10,000, but this miscellaneous area over here, no. They might only give you $9,000 because you're not too clear as to how you're going to spend that other 1,000 miscellaneous. Now, let me give you something to think about that these commissioners are going to be looking at. They're going to be looking at to see if your request might have the appearance of a subsidy. It clearly says in the statutes that they cannot give you money to subsidize your organization. And let's just say that you make an unreasonable, a request for an unreasonable amount of money for what it really should reasonably take to advertise your event. Let's just say you ask for $10,000 and you're wanting to do advertising in the Democrat Gazette. Well, is it $10,000 going to the Democrat Gazette for a little 2x2 ad on one day? That might be a bit steep. So are you going to report that you only spent $1,000 at the end of the day on that little 2x2 ad? If it appears that you're wanting $10,000 to do a $1,000 ad, then in their mind they're going to be thinking, what are you going to do with that other $14,000? If it takes on the appearance of being an inappropriate request, it might appear that you're wanting to hang on to some of that other money for the purpose of subsidizing your organization. Money cannot be used to subsidize your organization. It clearly says that in the statutes. So, these organizations who are out there that are asking for money, you need to tighten up your budget and be a little bit more specific on your line items. And then when you say, I need this money for these radio spots, you better be prepared to show receipts for those radio spots. It needs to mirror, your request needs to mirror the actual receipts. Otherwise, the A&P Commission might ask for their money back. So on the front end, if you're not being very specific and they can't see where you're being reasonable about your request, you're probably going to get turned down, and it's a month away, by the way, to the next meeting. And if you're needing the money, let's just say tomorrow, and they were nice enough to at least give you the opportunity to speak to them, and your event is tomorrow, you better have it together. Because next month might be too late for you and your event, and you may have to fund this event out of your own pocket. And to come back later and after the fact and ask for money, I don't know what to tell you. This money is out there, and it is to be properly used. And these commissioners, I may have already said this once, but these commissioners, they know they're being watched to make sure that they are handing out the money legally and properly. Now, one of the things that we as citizens needs to be aware of is they have nearly $750,000 just sitting in the bank. I could probably talk for another 20 minutes just on the subject of why is that money sitting in the bank? It's a chicken or the egg thing. If the citizens passed by vote to have an A&P tax, and we're taking the money out of hamburger sales to pay this tax, it's actually in there 2%, or hotel stay, it's in there 2%. People passing through our town, they don't benefit from the 2% tax. When we eat in our town and we go to the local eat places, we're paying that 2% tax as everyday citizens in this community. Most of the people who are paying the hotel tax, they're just transients coming through our town. When you give 2 cents on the dollar, I would imagine if you're thinking about that 2 cents on the dollar, you should be thinking about, what am I getting for that 2 cents? If they're putting that 2 cents in the bank, you're getting nothing. Absolutely nothing. So you might in your mind be thinking, why did I give you 2 cents, which would have an intended purpose? And if you're putting it in the bank, why aren't you using it? All right, so let's ask the question, why is money sitting in the bank? Main reason is we probably don't have, probably the number one reason that money is sitting in the bank is we have not had enough legitimate events occurring where people have come before the A&P Commission to ask for money. There's only seemingly just a handful of people in this town that even know about this commission and know about this pot of money. Now, I'm going to get very specific here. First off, I think we should have some sort of event going on in this town every weekend. I think we should have on Main Street every weekend some sort of activities going on. And some sort of flair should be happening in this community, sponsored by some group or organization every weekend. We have enough cultural events that we should have a cultural event in amongst all the other events. Let's just take CM Smoke as a good example. Mike Stevens over CM Smoke, he calls himself an artisan, and he likes to say that he has an artisan barbecue. I would think that someone like Mike Stevens, See 'Em Smoke, should be able to put on a barbecue fest to invite either regionally or nationally all sorts of barbecue artisans to come to Jacksonville for a barbecue contest. Now, granted, See 'Em Smoke, they might have a nonprofit organization that they work with, and they could call it a fundraiser for them if they wanted to. It seems like the A&P Commission thinks that all requests should be by nonprofits. But I say, wait a minute. If it doesn't matter why people are coming to Jacksonville. If people are coming to Jacksonville for an event, why does it have to be for a nonprofit organization to benefit from it? Why can't a business association benefit from it? People came to Jacksonville, but if the A&P Commission wants to say that you have to have a nonprofit organization tied to the event, I'm okay with that. But if you want people to come to Jacksonville, you're going to have to put on some sort of event. So I'm going to use barbecue festival and cook-off as a good Main Street event. You can imagine all sorts of barbecue smokers lined up down Main Street, and when you go home, you're going to smell of barbecue. People from all over would come to Jacksonville, if properly coordinated, to come to that festival. Just because they are a business, I would think that they should be entitled to some money for advertising and promoting that event. If you want me to bring people to Jacksonville, the least you can do is pay for the advertisement to bring them here. Now, granted, the food guys might say, well, they didn't eat in my restaurant because they ate barbecue all day. Okay. But if you do it where it's a one-night stay and people come in and they're eating barbecue over Friday night and all day Saturday, and people come into town to stay because it was a 2-day event, they stay in the hotels on Friday night. Now the hotel folks might benefit, should benefit. So I hope that I have explained to you how the A&P money can be used, how we get that 2 cents. I know I discussed the Parks and Recs gets a penny of it. The rest of it is there for the commission to dole out, and they dole out a lot of it to Parks and Rec. Because nobody else is asking for it. We're piling up as much as $750,000. So you folks with organizations out there, and if you want me to review your plan, I'm not going to guarantee you that even just because I review it that they'll pass it. But I don't mind looking at your plan. I don't mind looking at your request. And I know enough about the statutes. I could probably tell you whether or not it's an appropriate request. I don't mind doing that. I'm not a lawyer, but folks, I do have a 12th grade education. I can read. And these statutes is written in language that it's not that difficult. So you guys line up your requests. Get ready to put on events in Jacksonville. Make them say no. Put them in a position to make them say no. You hope they're going to say yes, but they can't say yes until you ask. But if they say no, then redo your request and go at them again. Maybe next year you will have some success from your event, and you can show them, hey, look, I brought in 25,000 people to this event. I might ask you, how do you know that you brought in 25,000 people? You know, whether you do it by cup count or go around and count cars, or whether you go around counting people. It's not too difficult to determine how many people came to your event. And it's not real difficult to find out where they came from. So, I hope this has helped. Reach out to me if you got any other questions. And if I've missed anything, left anything out, let me know. Maybe I'll come back and do a supplemental. I'm Patrick Thomas. This is Ladder Talks, and this is a special segment on A&P money and using it to bring people to Jacksonville. I hope you all have a good day. Bye.